An unprecedented election cycle, unlike any we've seen.
Today is our Independence Day.
And it all concludes tonight.
This is sure worth staying up for.
As Arkansas voters make their voices heard.
Live from Channel 7, special team coverage of Election Night 2016. With live reports, analysis, and results from around the state. Channel 7 News starts now.
Good evening once again. Thanks for being with us. 1 hour now until the polls close in Arkansas. A variety of issues being decided by voters here. Not just the presidential election, but several ballot questions to be decided tonight.
That's right. One of the biggest issues is issue 6. It is the medical marijuana amendment. And the opposition has been very vocal about not wanting this to pass here in Arkansas. The governor speaking out about it, as well as other dignitaries. Very
vocal and very organized as well. They are gathering at the Embassy Suites Hotel in West Little Rock. Our Serafina Brooks has been following that side of the issue. She joins us now live with the latest. Serafina?
Yeah, Chris and Beth, you're right. Many people have been vocal that they're opposing issue 6. One of those people, Surgeon General Bledsoe, he joins me now. Talk to me about how you feel about issue 6. I've seen a lot of your ad campaigns saying, don't buy the big lie. Talk to me about that.
Well, there's a national narrative that's going around the country that's being pushed by folks from the West Coast who have very deep pockets. And what they're trying to convince people is that marijuana is safe and that it's medicine. It's neither of those things. We've said from the beginning that there are compounds that could help with certain types of patients, but you don't need to legalize marijuana, the plant, in order to help patients. So we're against issue 6, and we think it'd be a very bad thing for the state.
So talk to me about the race for issue 6. Do you think it's going to be close, or do you think it's going to be a landslide?
I think it's going to be very close. We started out 20 points behind, and we were outspent 12-1. But if you look at the polls, it's neck and neck right now. So I'm very proud of our team and what we were able to do with what we had, but it's going to be a very close vote.
And any idea when we might start hearing some of those results tonight?
I'm sure we'll start hearing something as soon as the polls close, but it might not be decided for a while.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us. Absolutely. And again, polls close at 7:30, so make sure you get out there. You have a little bit of time left. We'll be here throughout the evening bringing you the latest on issue 6, so make sure you stay with us online and on air. Chris and Beth, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, Serafina Brooks for us. Serafina, thanks so much. Well, when John Boozman was first elected to Congress, he was the only Republican out of the state's 6 representatives in Washington.
15 years later, all of our state's congressional members are Republican. Channel 7's Jason Peterson joins us from the Republican Watch Party tonight, where the mood has certainly improved over the years. Jason?
Yeah, Beth, let's just go back 10 years to election night 2006. It was a clean sweep for the Democrats in Arkansas. All 7 state constitutional offices were won by Democrats, and 3 of the 4 congressional seats were won by Democrats. The one exception was John Boozman. 2 years later, Senator Mark Pryor and Congressman Marion Barry, both Democrats, didn't even draw a Republican opponent. In 2010, though, things began to change. John Boozman's victory over Blanche Lincoln that year was a sign of the rising red tide. Boozman now on the ballot for the second time as a U.S. Senate candidate. He voted in his hometown of Rogers this morning at about 10 a.m. He will be back this evening to join what promises to be an optimistic watch party. We asked him a short time ago to comment on the major political shift that has occurred over these past 10 years in Arkansas. We'll hopefully hear from him later. 23 of Boozman's Republican colleagues are also on the ballot tonight nationwide. 10 Democrat senators are on the ballot. So the polls say the Senate race in Arkansas is not as tight as some of those other races. They'll be watching the Arkansas race as well as all those others well into the night tonight.
All right, Jason Peterson for us with the Boozman campaign tonight. Jason, thanks so much. By the way, the polls have just closed in North Carolina, Ohio, West Virginia, and West Virginia has already been called for Trump, but 2 big states, North Carolina and Ohio, now closed. It's going to be a while before we know the exact results. Let's come back to our state now. John Boozman's opponent, Connor Eldridge, also awaiting tonight's results.
Our Kimberly Roosley is at his watch party with the latest. Kimberly.
Chris, Beth, we are here at Big Whiskey's in downtown Little Rock tonight. This is where Connor Eldridge is having his watch party tonight. Coming into this race as a newcomer to this process, he said he got started because he wanted to see a change in some of the ways that Arkansas was being represented in Washington. As you know, John Boozman, the incumbent there, that's who Eldridge is going up against tonight, and he says he has his work cut out for him, but he is confident, more than confident, that voters will actually put him in that seat. Since he announced in September of last year that he was going to be in this race, he said he's traveled to all the counties in Arkansas, and what he's heard from voters the most is that they're tired of the same things happening and the same things going on in Washington, and he really wants to change the direction of the state. One area he wants to change is how child predators are prosecuted. As a prosecutor himself, he says he wants to see stronger terms for them in terms of punishment and jail time. That's something that he says is big on his mind and big on his conscience as a father and just as an Arkansan himself. Now, of course, coming up tonight, we will be here the entire night. We will stand by for election results as the polls close. 7:30, we've been telling you all night, so if you haven't gotten out to the polls, you still have time. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter at KATV News, and you can follow me at KATV Kimberly. We will be right here following the results, and we'll be back with Connor Eldridge later in the newscast. Back to you.
All right, Kimberly Roosley for us tonight. All eyes will be on the presidential race tonight, and Hillary Clinton supporters are gathering in Little Rock tonight at Next Level events for their watch party. Alicia, Clinton not expected to win here in Arkansas, but I know they're excited about watching the returns come in tonight.
That's right, and they're anxiously awaiting some results from across the country, not necessarily focused on Arkansas here at the Little Rock party, but we do have some results in from some states that have already closed their polls. Politico claiming that Trump has won Indiana and Kentucky and also West Virginia, while Clinton winning Vermont. I'm joined by H.L. Moody, who is the spokesperson of the Democratic Party here in Arkansas. Were these states any surprises here?
So far, no surprises.
And let's talk a little bit about Florida, because I know everyone's anxiously watching and waiting on those results here. What do you think Florida's shaping out to be?
Florida looks very promising so far. When they updated the vote totals a few minutes ago, there was a big hoot and holler that came up from the few folks that are already here tonight. We are anxiously awaiting to see how Florida pans out.
Earlier tonight, we've had on Bill Clinton's first cousin. I know there are a lot of people here who have known their family for so many years. Why is this race so personal tonight for so many here?
Well, exactly for that reason. These folks have known the Clintons for decades. They've been through many campaigns with them. They've been through hard times. They've been through good times. And tonight, they're here to celebrate.
All right, and I'm sure you're hoping that there will be a bigger reason to celebrate later tonight.
We got a cake.
All right, cake they certainly have there. We'll go ahead and send it back to you guys, and we'll have much more from Clinton's campaign.
All right. Well, the best parties always have a cake. I think we can say that with confidence. Well, again, the polls close in Arkansas less than an hour from now. We are with the Clinton campaign. We're also with the Trump campaign as well.
That's right. Janelle Lilly is at the Republican watch party at Embassy Suites in West Little Rock, where a lot of Trump supporters and Republicans are awaiting the results tonight. Janelle.
Yeah, no cake here so far, but we're expecting something after the polls close when this party really kicks off. There are several campaigns here today. French Hill, John Bozeman, but also folks who have supported Trump, including Republican Party Chairman Doyle Webb. I spoke earlier with the Attorney General, who actually went around the country and stumped on behalf of the Trump campaign. She said what we really need to pay special attention to is not necessarily the votes coming from the state of Arkansas. She believes that that state is pretty secured for Trump, our 6 electoral college votes going his way. But she said the early voting numbers from across the country really do indicate a change in the tide, and she's saying that usually early voting, when it's higher and that turnout number is higher, that it's bad news for the incumbent party, which of course would be the Democrats. It'll be interesting to see how early voting plays a role, not only in our state, but across the country. Certainly something that a lot of folks here at the Republican Party watch party are going to be paying attention to. Back to you guys.
All right, Janelle, thanks a lot. And for our viewers tonight, we want to let you know that you can see some numbers scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Those are national numbers, and as soon as the polls close here in Arkansas, in about 55 minutes, you'll be seeing some local and statewide races. The numbers for those at the bottom of your screen as well.
That's right. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right, and we are back with our election 2016 coverage. I'm Roby Brock with Talk Business and Politics. I am joined by Dustin McDaniel, former Arkansas Attorney General, Political Animals Club President Rex Nelson. We've got former Representative Ann Clemmer is going to be with us, as well as Highway Commissioner Frank Scott. So we're going to be rotating a lot of voices through for the rest of the night. Let's begin first with all eyes. Everything's going to be consumed on the presidency and what happens here. What are you going to be looking for in the early returns, Dustin?
Well, obviously we care about Florida. Georgia and South Carolina are surprisingly tight for a presidential election. North Carolina, Pennsylvania, a lot is going to be happening on that East Coast. So when those polls close, we in the Central and Mountain and Western time zones are going to get a real glimpse at how the night's really going to go.
Is it going to be an early night or a late night, Rex?
I initially thought it was going to be a pretty early night. I thought in the Electoral College Hillary Clinton would win somewhat in a blowout, but looking at some of the earlier returns, it may be a little closer than I initially was thinking.
Yeah, got to throw New Hampshire in there too, another Eastern Standard Time state there, even though it's not a lot of votes, but it'll be a competitive one. All right, in Arkansas, we think it's a foregone conclusion based on all the polling data that Donald Trump's going to win pretty big here. What are you guys going to be watching in state in terms of what's going to be the most interesting thing to you on this election
I think the
night?
marijuana issue is going to be very interesting. I think that may be very close. And Arkansas could be the first southern state, Bible Belt state, to legalize that. I think that's going to be very interesting. On the issues that the legislature put on the ballot, I think 1 and 2, we can go into those later, will pass. But number 3 on bond issues, I think a lot of people are confused about that. And when people are confused, they tend to vote no. So that one could be very...
It's for jobs. Come on now. What about you, Dustin?
Well, I'll be looking at some of the legislative races. Senator Bobby Joe Pierce, an incumbent running in a really competitive, tough race in South Arkansas. Senator David Burnett in Northeast Arkansas running in a very competitive, tough race for re-election. There's several House seats of both incumbents and challengers. My old House seat in Jonesboro has actually changed. If Nate Looney wins tonight, he will be the 5th occupant of that House seat since I left it only 10 years ago. So it really tight, and the politics on those will be really interesting.
Yeah, the medical marijuana one statewide is the one that I'm the most interested in, because you could see Arkansas go Donald Trump, John Bozeman, and 4 medical marijuana. It'd be one of those contrarian votes that we've seen in the past before. What are some of the big ones that come to memory?
Arkansas for you. Of course, the classic, as everybody points to, when we went with George Wallace, of course, in '68, Bill Fulbright and Winthrop Rockefeller all on the same ticket. But even in 1992, when Bill Clinton was on the ballot and, of course, was elected president the first time, Jay Dickey became the first Republican elected to Congress since Reconstruction down in the 4th
and
District.
we passed term limits, too.
Yeah,
same
night in 92.
Well,
exactly right.
And re-elected U.S. senators for 2nd, 3rd, 4th terms and passed congressional term limits, which, of course,
are a
struck down.
schizophrenic voter.
That's right. Struck down by the courts, of course.
Rex Nelson and Dustin McDaniel will be joined by Ann Clemmer and Frank Scott a little bit later on. We're going to throw it back to the desk to Chris and Beth.
Tell you what, love that walk down memory lane, right? So many great moments in Arkansas politics. The best political analysis all night from those guys right here on KATV.
That's right. Hey, something to keep your eye on in about 15 minutes or so. 16 states and the District of Columbia closing their polling or their polls there again at 7 o'clock. Some of those states we expect immediate calls. They're considered safe for the candidates, but others, Florida, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, some of those battleground states. So we'll be watching that coming up at 7 o'clock.
So far, we have seen West Virginia, Kentucky, and Indiana called for Donald Trump, Vermont for Hillary Clinton, but a lot more numbers to come in. Ohio and North Carolina, the biggest, as we wait for those numbers right now. In the meantime, we'll take a break, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Well, voters have often referred to this election as the social media election. I think it's safe to say that the candidates have been using it more than any other election before, and maybe always not in a good way.
No, yeah, it's safe to say no election has been as influenced by social media as this one has this time around.
The candidates reaching out to voters on social media, and also voters voicing their opinions. Our Erin Hawley is looking at social media for us tonight, and she joins us with what she's seeing so far. Erin.
And obviously, until most of those polls close, we're not going to be hearing a whole lot on that from the candidates. But right now, they're still urging people to go to the polls since they are still open here and several other places. Taking a look at Donald Trump's page, He announced about 3 hours ago he's going to be watching the election results from Trump Tower in Manhattan with family and friends. And his latest tweet coming from just about 3 hours ago saying, "Don't let up. Keep getting out to vote. This election is far from over. We are doing well, but there is much time left. Go Florida." Taking a look now at Hillary Clinton's page, her latest tweet coming just 35 minutes ago, calling to voters, remember, if you are in line before polls close, you can vote. Have a question, you can call us. She gives a number. They've also got some links down here where you can find your polling location. Of course, that is on our Secretary of State's website as well. If you need to find your polling location, our polls here do close at 7:30, and you just have to be in line by 7:30 in order to make it through. So some time still left if you haven't gone to vote yet today. Beth, Chris.
Okay, Aaron, thanks very much. And use that hashtag KATV7 tonight if you have something interesting to send along or share, perhaps a picture or a thought. We'll be keeping our eye on social media throughout this evening.
We will be. Our special coverage of the election 2016 continues when we come back.
Your voice, your future. Good evening once again, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Chris May along with Beth Hunt. This is our continuing coverage of election 2016. It's already been a busy night here in Arkansas. The state has gone for Donald Trump. It has sent John Bozeman back to the Senate, and all 4 congressional seats have stayed with the Republicans here in Arkansas. Beth.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at those numbers. In District 1, Rick Crawford winning re-election. He was seeking his 4th term. He has won it. He was first elected to this position back in 2010.
In the 2nd congressional district tonight, French Hill winning his 2nd term with 57% of the vote. Diane Curry, the Democrat, with just 39% tonight.
And in the 3rd congressional district, Steve Womack winning re-election, 77% of the vote to Steve Isaacson's 23%. This is Steve Womack's 4th term. He was first elected back in 2010.
And we'll wrap it up with the 4th district congressional race here. Bruce Westerman, who we heard from a little bit earlier tonight on Channel 7, with 74% of the vote, easily outdistancing Carrie Hicks of the Libertarian Party with just 26% of the vote.
All right, we also have some numbers to share with you concerning issue 6 here in Arkansas, the medical marijuana amendment, and it is right now 51% for and 49% against. So many people watching this race, and it is a close one so far.
Absolutely, and kind of a mirror image of what we saw here in the state 4 years ago when a medical marijuana initiative was defeated, 51 to 49. Again, right now it leads, but it is early on. Let's kind of gauge the temperature of the 2 campaigns for and against medicinal marijuana, and we will start with
Maureen Glisovic.
Yes.
She is live tonight at the Rev Room with supporters of issue 6. Maureen.
Hey guys, I'm here over at the Rev Room, and we have some supporters. Interestingly enough, issue 6 canceled their watch party. Issue 7, despite being disqualified from the ballot, still decided to come out and support the remaining medical marijuana question left on the ballot. And joining me right now, I have Leisha Wills, who's actually a supporter, but also hoping to be a patient. So tell me why you need medical marijuana to pass in this state.
I've had multiple sclerosis for over 30 years, and I've been on the same drugs coming from a pharmacy the whole time, and they just don't work anymore like they used to. And from research that I've done, I see where medical marijuana could help me.
And has your doctor, told you that this is something that you could look forward to if this passes, or?
Yes, I had this conversation with him 3 years ago, and he told me if it ever passed in Arkansas, that he had no problem writing me a recommendation for the drug. But, legal in the state, you still have to look at the federal side and see what they're doing. Hopefully it will pass, and it can be something that I could use to get my exacerbations and under control.
And I imagine if this passes, who's your first phone call to tomorrow?
Oh, I don't know. I just need it to pass. Please, Arkansas, I hope you voted right way.
Thank you so much, Leisha. I really appreciate it. So a lot of supporters here and hopeful patients are hoping that issue 6 does pass, but we'll go ahead and send it back to you for now.
All right, Maureen Glisovic reporting for us tonight with supporters of Issue 6.
A very organized and vocal opposition to Issue 6. It began all the way at the top with Governor Hutchinson, the Department of Health, a lot of health officials. The opposition is gathered tonight at the Embassy Suites Hotel. Our Serafina Brooks has been following them, and she joins us now live with more. Serafina?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I'm here at the Embassy Suites at the Republican Watch Party. A lot of people are paying attention to Issue 6 as those results come in. Now, those who are for Issue 6 are leading right now, but joining me at this very moment is Mr. Speaker of the House. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm just fine. So those results, we're starting to see those come in. Tell me your thoughts and feelings.
Well, of course, we're still early in the night as far as the total precincts reporting throughout the state, so we're going to see how it unfolds through the rest of the evening, and along with a lot of the other issues that are on the ballot, as well as the races that we're looking at as well.
And throughout this election cycle, we've heard from many of our elected officials about those who oppose Issue 6. Talk to me about your stance on Issue 6 for the state of Arkansas.
Well, I feel like that this is the wrong method to try to implement this in Arkansas, and so we've had representatives that have come forward and said that they feel like we can do this legislatively in a responsible way, that Issue 6 is too broad, and that they got a few of the complexities that they're wrong in the way that they drafted it. And so we're going to be looking at that in the session if we prevail tonight and this amendment does not pass and move forward.
Okay, well, we'll be watching along with you. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll be here again throughout the night, keeping you updated on Issue 6 and where those numbers are going. For now, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Serafina, thanks a lot. We appreciate your reporting tonight.
Okay, the Embassy Suites, kind of a carnival of politics tonight. A lot of people from a lot of different issues and personalities standing by there. Our Jason Peterson has been covering much of the carnival for us tonight.
Yeah, he spoke with Senator John Boozman earlier, who won re-election, and he joins us now. And Jason, I understand that you've seen French Hill walking around there. We had word that you may have spoken with Governor Asa Hutchinson as well. How are things there as folks see these numbers come in?
Well, this is quite the mood here at the Republican Watch Party. You know, this is my 20th year covering Arkansas politics, Arkansas watch parties. I've been at Democrat watch parties and Republican watch parties. For those first 15 years, if you wanted to be at a winning watch party, you needed to be with the Democrats. But lately, it's been all Republican. Look at the crowd that we've got here tonight. We have this ballroom at the Embassy Suites literally jam-packed with people, and so far, everybody's in a good mood. Of course, National Fox News is providing the soundtrack to the evening, both the numbers that are coming in and the results nationwide. Only one person has addressed the crowd so far. That's been Attorney General Leslie Rutledge. She ran off the list of Republicans here in Arkansas who won tonight, all 4 congressional seat holders. John Boozman, our senator, going back to the Senate for a second term. She said to the crowd, the redder, the better. That got a huge applause. And when they announced the results so far in Florida, that got a huge applause. Those are the big applause lines so far tonight. And no other Republicans have addressed the crowd. They will shortly, guys.
Okay, looks like a busy night there, Jason. Thanks a lot. He's covering many different candidates tonight.
The redder, the better. Yes. How about that? We'll see where that goes. Well, there's so much going on. So many big states remain out. A lot of electoral votes still to be claimed in the presidential race. Right now, it seems like a toss-up. It's anybody's game.
It really does. And we are going to send you back now to ABC's national coverage of the 2016 election.
I'm Roby Brock with Election 2016. We're going to quickly go to John Boozman speaking on election night at his watch night party.
Paula and Laura, Bill McKnight, our campaign chair, Don Marley, our PAC chairman. But again, he's done a tremendous job of putting together a great team that has led us to victory. As importantly, in fact, much more importantly, in the sense that the reason that we're in the situation that we're in is that my staff. You all need to be quiet because I mumble anyway. Okay. So again, I want to thank my staff so much. They worked so hard. I think we've had over 19,000 encounters, people coming to the office, needing something done, that we were able to intervene and make it such that we were able to solve their problems. So that's really what it's about. We understand that we want to use the power of the office for good, And again, I've worked really hard to do that, representing the people of Arkansas. When I was growing up, the country was in great turmoil. We had the assassination of John Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy. Much of the country was on fire in our major cities. And yet, people, despite all of that going on with the country in turmoil, they had faith in their institutions. Right now, we're in a situation where we've lost our faith in our institutions, and to be the great country that we need to be, we simply have to get that back, and that's going to take a lot of work. My dad, like most of your all's dads and grandfathers, great-grandfathers in some of your cases, grew up during the Depression. He started working when he was 9. Worked really hard for my brother, my sister, and I to make sure that we would have the American dream, the dream of us doing better than he did, the generations improving. For the first time in our history, more people than not don't feel like that the American dream is going to be there for their children and grandchildren. Again, that's something that we simply have to fix. This is a Marco moment. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. It's so very close. But I do know that your elected leaders, once it's over, need to come together and find common ground to address the problems that we face. And the problems that I've heard about so much as I've crisscrossed the state, not just in the last year or so, but in the last 6 years, the problems of things like the regulatory burden that's on our businesses that are putting a wet blanket, again, and costing us jobs. Healthcare cost. The average Arkansan now has seen his premiums go up dramatically with $5,000, $10,000 deductibles. We've got to come together and solve those problems. Along with that, national security. You can see my family back here. I've got 3 daughters. I'd do anything in the world for them, and my little granddaughters, but I can't protect them from ISIS. So again, we need to spend, we need to do whatever it takes in order to get that done. Let me close by talking just a second about a night just like this in 2001. I had the opportunity then to become the 3rd District Congressman. As soon as the race was over, in fact, as soon as I got, well, even before this point, John Paul Hammerschmidt called me. John Paul, as many of you know, was so beloved and just did a tremendous job. He called me and said, "John, always remember that there's not any Republicans now. You're the congressman. There's just the people of Arkansas, and you need to take care of all of them." So I want you to know that I pledge, as I return to Washington again, to keep that in mind and make it such that we find some common ground and start solving our problems. Right after that, I was given a challenge coin. A young soldier, as I was visiting someplace, gave me a challenge coin. Those are the little coins that they give out, in recognition of their units. On the coin, it said, "Duty, honor, and country, never falter, never quit." And I would add, "Trusting God" to that. But that's a great recipe. That's a great recipe. And again, that's what we need to look forward to. If we could have those values, not just your congressman, but us as a nation. If we could adopt those values, get back to these basic principles, then again, the country would be a lot better off, and we would continue to be the greatest, freest country that the world has ever known. Amen. Thank you very much.
All right, that is John Boozman speaking to his crowd of supporters there. He has been reelected to a 2nd term in the U.S. Senate. Connor Eldridge, we are told, has conceded to John Boozman. We knew that from the results that we called a little bit earlier. Dustin, Rex, my question to you is, what kind of political force is John Boozman now in Arkansas? Having come through the ranks of Congress, now he is the state's senior senator.
Let me make an analogy, and it may be a little bit of a reach, but when I was growing up, of course, we had 2 Democratic senators, and John L. McClellan, who later became Senate Appropriations Committee chair, was kind of considered the Arkansas guy. He was the guy who came back to Arkansas, got the money, went to the local events, delivered the pork home, whereas Bill Fulbright took the big worldview and got on all the Sunday morning talk shows. I think we've got a little bit of that going on now with 2 Republican senators. That Boozman's kind of the Arkansas guy. He's back here on a regular basis. Not to say that Senator Cotton's not, but Tom Cotton obviously is a man taking the worldview, and he's the one appearing on the Sunday morning talk shows. So maybe in our modern world, with things reversed, in a sense, Cotton's Fulbright and Boozman's McClellan.
You'll get some pushback on that, but go ahead.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to acknowledge that Connor Eldridge got into a race that was going to be difficult. Sure. It was absolutely an uphill battle, and he knew that. He raised a good bit of money. He traveled the state diligently. He demonstrated that he's a guy with a good, solid resume, and his performance numbers so far are respectable. He didn't win, but he's got pretty respectable numbers. That being said, John Boozman's just a good guy. He's a good man. People like him. Yeah. He's a genuinely kind person. He's clearly the Republican standard bearer. He is the senior senator, and you know, having he is royalty, right? I mean, his whole family's held office or served in some way or another. Yeah. But he's a person that I know that if my family needed him and I needed to call him on the telephone, he would respond because he's my senior senator, and I think that resonates.
But again, an example of how the state has changed, because I tell you, his late brother Fay Boozman was a good man too. I mean, they were a lot alike in that respect. And Fay Boozman was wiped out in 1998 when he ran against Blanche Lincoln. Right. So again, it shows the change in the state also. You know, in Connor Eldridge, smart, articulate, he did work hard. I think he's as good a candidate as the Democrats could have fielded this year.
What does his future hold for him? What does Connor Eldridge do next? I mean, he took on the high-profile giant in the race there. Again, respectable showing, but it's a different day and age in Arkansas politics. Does he sit back now and step back? Has he built some political capital that he can take forward with him?
You know, that's going to be entirely up to him. I think right now his thought would be on his family and thanking his supporters and figuring out what's next. I think from our perspective, you know, not a whole lot of surprises here in Arkansas, but we've got a lot of surprises around the country in Senate and governor and presidential races.
We'll pivot to that.
Yeah.
What do you think for you've seen Republicans before. Asa Hutchinson was a guy that lost 3 or 4 times
lost several statewide races, absolutely.
Before he garnered where he is now. But does Connor Eldridge kind of?
I mean, if the question is, could he run again? Of course. He ran a very respectable race.
Will he want to?
Will he want to? And will the environment be such? I mean, if the question is, did he come out of this better than he went into it? Yeah, he came out of it with better name recognition, with an understanding of how the state operates. He visited counties in this race he'd never been to in his life, and now he's got friends and connections there. Right. He's got a network there, and he will be. If he wants to be either a candidate in the future or somebody who helps other candidates in the future, he'll be very much a go-to guy.
The stage was set for him, like you said, if he wanted to run better the next time. I mean, the classic recent example of that in Arkansas history is, of course, a losing race, and it wasn't close, that Mike Huckabee ran against Dale Bumpers in 1992. And yet suddenly there's a special election for lieutenant governor in 1993, and Mike Huckabee's got a statewide organization, like you said, 75 counties, he's got friends, and he barely beats Nate Coulter with 51% of the vote, and the rest is history, as they say.
Oh, that's right.